JoshKempen,
Hello.
thank you so much for coming through.
Yeah, so nice to be here.
Great to have you. So for those out there who are not really familiar with Josh yet, musician, recording artist, signed to
Friend.
and friend as well, friend to the podcast as well. So yeah, great to have him here. So I think interesting point to start. What's it like being a rock star in today's modern world? I mean, is it all vodka for breakfast and lunch with supermodels, or is it more suits and tie than what we kind of imagine?
It's okay. It's neither. First of all, neither of those for me personally.
Yeah.
Not suit and tie. There was a time when there was suit and ties, but yeah, less vodka than you'd imagine. A lot more like tea, vocal warm ups,
Looking
sort
after
of
yourself.
thing. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. But I think
nice.
that's also just me personally.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
definitely some wonderful examples of rock stars even in our little scene.
Okay, nice.
But I unfortunately don't make that cut.
Okay, that's probably better in the long run anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I think the South African music scene is a very interesting place. There's those few bands that kind of stick around, but what's your kind of view on the industry and the scene at the moment?
Like really, really optimistic.
Yeah,
I genuinely, I say it from the bottom of my heart. I think people in 10 years time are going to look at like this scene and this generation and be like, oh my God, that's where it started.
Yeah.
I really think we have bands now that people actually want to go see, not like support local because like they actually want to see them.
Yeah.
And also like the avenues now to get your music out, like you could literally be under a rock if the rock had Wi-Fi and you
True,
could get
true.
your music out. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like
yeah.
it doesn't matter. And yeah, so I think it's just like a really, really exciting time to be specifically a South African musician because like how cool is that? We're right at the beginning, you know?
Nice, yeah. I think we'll get into the technology side of things. I find that really interesting. We can unpack that a bit more a bit later. But with regards to the music scene in South Africa, I find there seems to be quite a clear divide between what we would deem as like the hip hop scene and then more like the rock kind of scene. I think one of the more stark things that stand out to me is the financial kind of differences. I mean,
Yeah.
you see pictures of some local artists driving around in Aston Martins and such things, and then you hear stories about other musicians who can't afford to buy beer after a show. Like, why do you think there's such a huge disparity? And is it just the size of the consumer base, or is there something else that's really going on?
Yeah, look, I mean, if you're talking about like Nadia Nakai, Ricky Rick,
Yeah.
aka Chocolate, those dudes are making music that a lot more people want to hear. It's like simple. It's like a very basic concept. Like they have a much bigger audience,
Okay, yeah.
one that would be amazing to tap into. But like I think when you're in this country and you say I'm gonna make like songwriter folk music or rock and roll, like you do know that you're talking to a much smaller portion of the population. The goal is to like encompass it, obviously.
Yeah.
But there is a disparity, but that's only because of demand. Like
Demand, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
that's literally it.
Okay, nice. And as far as the whole Twitter kind of environment and sphere, it seems South Africa's really, I mean, I think back personally, like before the whole explosion of Twitter, it seemed there was a couple of local musicians and celebrities that you read about in You magazine or something like that, or but there wasn't really like the size of the celebrity base. Now, I think Twitter's had a huge effect on that. What do you think? And like, how is it
Yeah.
living in that whole Twitter world?
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm getting there, especially with Twitter. I'm getting there. I'm still sort of figuring it out. But it's something I think when you become a professional musician, like you need to make that switch of like this isn't any longer my socials per se. This is now work as well, and you need to put as much energy as you're putting into whatever songwriting, interviews, into that stuff. It
That's
can't be
well,
a side thought.
Okay.
And like I think that's why the people who succeed, they'll generally have like teams helping them do it, or you can just see it's like so much of their energy goes into creating really, really good content consistently. They making a promise to their audiences and sticking to it.
Yeah.
But it's helped a hell of a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers and the followers are really insane that you see some of these guys getting, and especially for ourselves, kind of getting into this world now, it's been quite an eye-opener to kind of see the kind of size of these followings and stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, you really think how strange it must have been 20 years ago to kind of do this as well. I mean, there was fan clubs and stuff like that, but I think that's as pretty as far as
Yeah,
it got.
like 20 years ago, well, before the internet, you needed
And just 20
you
years
needed
ago
a
is
label,
not
you know?
that long ago. I mean, that's what, like 1990.
It's Oasis.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Oasis.
True.
Oasis were like one of the last mega bands, like before the internet, I think.
Geez, yeah, to think, I mean, what they would have done now with their size and stuff. It's really interesting. I think I always find it a fascinating comparison when people try and like line up different musicians, even if you take it pre-internet. I mean, if you took Frank Sinatra and the blues musicians, Muddy Waters and them, when they went and they played a performance at a bar, it was like pretty much to the people at the bar, and
Yeah.
maybe if they were lucky, like the local radio station. Now
Yeah.
Justin Bieber does a performance in the Philippines, and 7 billion people can watch him do it. It's so insane to try and like compare the success of those guys back then with the guys of today with that access. I mean, having said that, you could easily make the argument, I think, that the older bands were still more successful on a longevity scale. I mean, what's your opinion on how pretty much flash in the pan music is? I mean, a great example is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, it spent 748 weeks on the Billboard Top 200, and that's like 18 years.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and that just because it's a piece of art. And nowadays, if you think about it, like what was out 2 years ago, it's hard to kind of put your thumb on. And it's strange how that like staying power isn't really around anymore. What do you think that kind of?
I think you need to like keep perspective in mind. Like it's different. Like so we are of this time.
Yeah.
So I believe that there are records getting made and that have been made in the last 10 years that are equally unforgettable and like revolutionary. But obviously, the only thing that survived until now are the Pink Floyds and the Led Zeppelins and the Muddy Waters and stuff because they stood the test of time. But I've got no doubt that in 50 years from now, there will be something from here that stood the test of time. I guess a big difference is, and that you need to keep in mind, is you're hearing everything now. Like you literally will hear, if your neighbor makes a song and puts it on Facebook and you're friends with him, you will have to hear that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's so much stuff that you're hearing, and like.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing because you need to facilitate opportunity for people. You need to give people an avenue. They will find it anyway, but it's nice to give people an avenue to like have a voice and some ears, you know. So it's good in that sense. It's bad if you're hearing shitty music a lot or whatever it is, you know. But I think. On the whole, I'm like 100% for it. I think it's great.
Nice. Would you say that it aided in your career, or
yeah,
like the whole social media online thing?
Well, actually, to be honest, it's actually quite funny how things unfolded for me because, yes, I definitely got interest through like putting things up on YouTube and things like that. But if I think about it, I got a record deal because Warner Music were at my show at Opicopy, and I'm not sure how they caught my scent before, but it was actually like a very old school way that I got A&R'd, you know, like the whole team was there at the show, they all looked at it and they were like, this is great, and then they gave me their card, you know what I mean?
Nice.
It was very like 1980s, you know?
Yeah. Jeez, wow.
But so yeah, like yes and no, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay, nice. How is that whole festival scene?
It's cool. It's really cool. It's growing. I don't personally like camping and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I actually like Obi. This last year was one of the dustiest years I've been, and I played on the Sunday, and we got there Friday, and honestly had a chilled out night, and we were camping in the artist camping, and I woke up the next morning with no voice and like dust in my fingernails, and I just said to my girlfriend, we're going to a B&B, and I called like 8 B&Bs, found one that was available, and life changing. Like that's how I festival from now on, literally. Swim in the pool before the show, like.
Shower.
Yeah, great Afrikaans couple cooking you breakfast in the morning.
What more could you want?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Nice. So bringing up the whole technology side of things, like Malcolm Gladwell made a good argument about how basically free downloading of music could kind of be seen as a boon in the long run for the music industry because
As a what?
as a boon, as a something good, something
Okay.
positive, yeah. If you say come to town now, if somebody can download your songs for free, they can listen to you and actually hear what they're going to listen to at the show. If they enjoy it for free, they can go to the show and pay for the actual live
Yeah.
thing. I mean, are you in favor of the whole downloading for free, or do you think it should be paid for?
Did you say that was Malcolm Gladwell who said
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
No, I totally agree with him to an extent. Because I actually also, I just watched a documentary. I don't want to swear on this, but who the F is Arthur Fogel?
Okay.
He
You can swear. Go ahead.
Can I? Who the fuck is Arthur Fogel?
Yeah.
And he was this guy who he's booked like 8 of the 10 highest grossing world tours, and it's a documentary about him. He's like
Yeah.
this. He's a really wonderful, charismatic guy,
Yeah.
and obviously extremely successful. Like he booked Gaga's world tour and Madonna and U2, that one that came here.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's exactly what they
360
say.
to-
Yeah, that's exactly what they say in this documentary. I thought it was such a positive message. They were like, look, the industry is just flipped on its head. Everyone likes to say that you're stuffed if you're a musician because CD sales are going down the toilet. But the truth is, it's just flipped over. Before, people would tour to sell records. Now people make records, they can go on tour. It's just a different
Nice,
means of
yeah.
making money. And I mean, the first world tour was not very long ago. It wasn't possible before. Venues are getting bigger now, and obviously the world is getting much smaller, and like audiences in China are accessible for a South
Yeah.
African in a sense. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. So I think it's grown in a really good way. And at the end of the day, I'm sure like each to their own, but live performance is where it's at for me.
Is that your
I love
preferred?
recording.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love recording, and I love having records. But playing live is what it's all about. Definitely.
Okay, nice. How long would you say like the whole recording process, like your new album,
Yeah.
The Morning Show? How long did that whole process take you?
So on a bit of a shotgun decision, about the day before, I spoke to the producers, Jacques Duplessis and Dave Krevler. I said, what do you think about doing a couple of live tracks? And they had obviously also been thinking about it because they became pretty excited about it. So we thought, okay, let's record the rock and roll songs live.
Okay.
And live in the sense we mic up the whole studio so everything sounds as good as we can get it, and then we just play the songs in one go, you know? Because I like the idea of having that energy. And we did it for the rock and roll songs, and it was sounding really good. So that we were like, why don't we just keep doing this until it starts sounding bad? And we recorded 15 tracks in 3 days. It was just done because we would basically play a song, be like, nah, I messed that up, play it again. Like if I felt that it had energy, if I felt like it sounded like us, I was like, cool, we've got that song, and then we would just like move through it. So it was really, really fast and fun for everyone
That is
involved because
amazing.
it just wasn't tedious, you
Yeah.
know. It wasn't like, okay, let's get this guitar part, and you like try put perfection in each individual part, but then the parts don't really add up to much. Whereas this, we're like, if it sounds good, it's added up to something, and the parts probably sound
So it's not really
okay.
overproduced very much.
Yeah, not at all.
Okay. Nice.
And then we redid a few of the vocals just so we got because it was recorded on an SM58, which is like what you use live.
Okay.
We recorded it on a condenser mic, and so the recording process was really, really quick. And then I think we had about maybe 4 mixing sessions. We met. We would give our ears breathers, so we'd meet like 1 day per week
Nice.
and mix, and then
So you don't get kind of stuck in that little bubble. and
yeah,
then,
like I just read an article with Brian Eno, and he put the nail on, hit the nail on the head. He was like, you need to just remove yourself from the environment and listen to what you're doing quite often, because you can get it's quite addictive to be recording and be adding so much. It's a great thing to do. But it's like you need to remove yourself a bit just so you can be like, no, we've got that actually. Like let's not kill this thing.
I'm sure anyone who's tried to write has always had that next morning read back, and they were like, what the hell was that? Kind of thing. But yeah, and 4 days later, it sounds a bit better. So yeah, I definitely.
Yeah, you need to live with it. It's
Yeah.
essential, actually.
Nice, because at least it kind of captured something you were kind of
That was my
experiencing in
thing.
that moment,
I went in and I was like, 'cause I just noticed quite often you go into recording and you hope to get something out of your songs that maybe weren't there. Like, you could listen to your favorite record and be like, I hope it sounds like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is like a frustrating
And this is
position to put
very
yourself in.
unfair to put yourself in that
Yeah,
position.
yeah. So like you go in there and you start try making these new sounds and this new basically trying to create something that isn't exactly there. So I said to myself before recording, I said, I know that my songs are solid. I know people are enjoying my songs, and I don't expect anything from these songs besides for them to sound like what I sound like.
Nice,
So that's why we said the live thing, and that's also why it was very easy for me to make calls. If I knew it sounded like this song, I'd be like, cool, that's done. Let's not like reinvent the wheel here, you know?
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Talking about great albums and stuff, what are some of your best albums? Or like, I know it's pretty impossible to kind of say, but, or would you say more influential albums on you?
The most influential albums on me were Cold Fact by Rodriguez. That was my first CD.
Nice.
Yeah, that was when I was still living here, and I listened to it a hell of a lot. And the Best of Sinatra.
Nice.
I learned when I was I must have been like 9 or 10. I learned that back to back, and I had these big mirrors in my bedroom in Australia, and I would literally, this is before it's so funny when I think about it, because I'd never even thought about the possibility of being a musician, but I would literally, I would come home from school and I'd put on Sinatra and I'd like sing it in front of the mirror. You know what I mean? Like as if I was like playing it and performing it. And I'm not joking, like I did that for like 5 years. Like I would just like pretend I was a singer. It was like playing with toys, you know?
Wow, yeah.
So Sinatra, and then my uncle, who was like sort of very influential for me, when he was visiting Australia, he was really into Jack Johnson, Brushfire Fairy Tales. I listened to that non-stop for like 4 years, just non-stop.
That is a great album. I mean,
It's a lovely album. Yeah.
There's two albums I'd say, maybe even, I can't think of them now. In Between Dreams, I think was the other one.
Yeah, so it was Brushfire Fairy Tales was his first,
Yeah.
then it was On and On,
Okay.
and then it was In Between Dreams.
Okay, yeah, that was a real great time. I mean, and I've tried to give his stuff a go again. I think he's kind of lost his magic personally, but I mean, just not to take anything away from the greatness he did for like a few years. I don't know if his sound just got tired, or people like Jason Mraz and other people kind of jumped on that vibe and kind of
I think it became
spun it out a bit.
very, like it was like wildfire, I think, that style, because he was really, I think, I could be wrong, I was pretty young at the time, but he was like the first person that I heard that sounded like that, you know?
Yeah.
I think
just
he's
the guy with the guitar, pretty much.
like surfer dude, like very chilled out music. I think that was the first bit of music I heard like that got very popular.
Okay,
It was pretty revolutionary. And then, have I ever told you about Devendra Banhart?
Nah.
Okay, yeah, he's got an album called Smokey Rolls Down Thunder Canyon.
Where's he from?
He's from his mum's from Venezuela, and I think his dad's from Texas. He's born in Venezuela, grew up in Texas, and yeah, I love all of his stuff. He's definitely like my most.
Would it be Spanish or English?
He sings in Spanish and in English.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and he's definitely that's my biggest like crush musically. Yeah, and Smokey Rolls Down Thunder Canyon is probably, someone asked me in an interview the other day, what album would you take with you if you were going to an island, which obviously just had a CD player, and I was like, well, actually, hopefully it was a record player, it would last a bit longer. And what would you take? And I was like, probably Smokey Rolls Down Thunder Canyon. I just think it's like this perfect singer-songwriter album. Like it's weird and quirky, but like very touching and eclectic. There's so many different sounds. It's really, really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
As far as like the modern guys, I mean, I know you're a big Arctic Monkeys fan. What do you think about their whole vibe? I mean, that first album of theirs, as someone who's living in the UK when it came out, I don't think, like, as far as concept albums go, it pretty much nails it on the head there. I mean, that album pretty much encapsulated the UK at that time, the mid-2000s, and yeah, it's really phenomenal. I haven't really given their stuff a go, like, besides them, anyone else, or you got any thoughts on them as well? And
well, you know, Arctic Monkeys, it's quite funny. I definitely I admire like Alex Turner's songwriting so much. I think it's just so great. It's so big. Whenever I often find that if someone's playing music and you're hearing a whole range of artists, whenever an Arctic Monkeys or Alex Turner song comes on, it just feels bigger. It's like, wow, the song is quite hectic.
Yeah.
But I was always more interested in like the Libertines. I was much more into than the Arctic Monkeys, and I think they sort of started that sound, that sort of British rock thing.
What would you call it anyway? I mean, it was like
I
a
don't know.
rebirth kind of thing. It
I
felt
don't
like
know what it is, but I remember when I heard "I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor," I hadn't heard anything like it.
man.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, definitely. I mean, even the Rebel to the Ritz, so many.
Yeah.
They just painted England like your average Friday night in England so well. It's quite beautiful.
I just finished Springsteen's biography, and he was like, he explained a hit like so well. He was like, because obviously he's written a lot of hits. He was like, he's like, you know it's a hit because it sounds like at one moment nothing you've ever heard before, and at the same time something so familiar. You know what I mean? And I feel like it really just like knocked the nail on the head. Like that's
100%.
totally it. It's so like makes you nostalgic, but also like, what is this? I've never heard this. You know?
Wow, yeah, that is a great description. I mean, like all those bands that kind of came out at the time, and there was like Franz Ferdinand, Kaiser Chiefs.
Oh yeah, that was a crazy record.
The Strokes, the Kinks. I mean, you could argue the Strokes and the Kinks were kind of also at that really beginning of the wave as well. I think they were a few years before everyone, but that was a bit more of like a commercial poppy sound. But
well, the Kinks were like.
Oh no, sorry, not the Kinks. Sorry, I mean the Strokes. Yeah, sorry, in the Hives, in the Hives.
Strokes in the Hives.
Kinks, sorry. Please excuse me for that faux pas. Yeah. I'll lash myself later for that one. Yeah.
Totally, but I don't know actually. I don't know if the Strokes were afterwards or.
Yeah,
I've actually no idea. But yeah, they were. I still look at the Strokes now. I'm like, how do you get that cool? You know, they're just
that confidence.
Just so cool. I don't know what it is.
Are they still around? Do you know if they're doing anything?
They well actually. So Devendra Banhart, who I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Often, what's his name? Fab Moretti, the drummer from the Strokes, plays for Devendra quite a lot.
Oh, okay.
And I know when I was living in Italy, the Strokes did a tour. They played in Milan it's a venue called I might say this wrong, Castello Sforzeschi.
Okay.
And it's a ruined castle that they host music concerts in. And I couldn't fucking get off work to go to this show. Like the Strokes were playing there. I couldn't believe it. Jeez. And I couldn't get off work. But yeah, so they're still doing some stuff.
Yeah.
I know the Libertines just played. When was it? I watched a live performance of theirs in Glastonbury, like last year, I think.
Okay, nice. Glastonbury, that must be an experience.
Looked crazy, yeah. I wasn't at Glastonbury. I watched it on YouTube.
Just on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Second best thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice. So, just as far as your personal life, I mean, how does do you do anything special to keep healthy? Anything?
I've got a pretty good routine. So I rehearse every morning at High Sea Studios, which is just down the road from me.
Okay. Is that David's spot?
That's Jacques' spot.
Jacques, okay.
Yeah, so I go down there to rehearse in the morning. Generally on a Thursday, I'll rehearse with the band. So it's every day solo and then with the band on a Thursday. And then I always have like the odd admin thing to do, like mails to respond to and things like that. And then I'll go to gym in the evening, and that's basically my day. And then I normally like read a book.
Okay, nice.
Afterwards, yeah, it's a very like relaxed routine.
Sounds like a zen life.
It is, but it's funny. Like I think this is the nature of being a musician. It's like quite contrary because you're always hoping for more to do, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a real discipline to just be like, no, just rehearse, prepare yourself, you know.
Your energy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nice. Is any pressure kind of? Do you feel to kind of put out more of like a rock star image, or is there kind of no real?
I think it's one of those things that like if I started out by putting a real rock star image, like people would demand more of it, you know, because and it would probably be an assumption. Like I would think people would want more of it, but yeah, I like my honest opinion is that like if you're going to create art that people want to listen to, there has to be a lot of honesty in it, because otherwise you can't. The only genius that there is, in my opinion, in art is like pure honesty, like real, like as close to authenticity as possible. So it's really hard to do if you're being inauthentic.
What do you think? Because like in my little armchair opinion about music, I'm a massive blues and jazz fan. I just kind of feel the further we get away from blues and jazz, the more kind of fake we became. And I guess with that revival, like this kind of acoustic vibe that we've kind of gone back to over the last few years, folky feel. I think it's a good thing because it's kind of heading back towards the blues and jazz vibe. But would you kind of agree that, or what do you kind of think on the idea that, like, the further we get away from the roots of where we kind of came from? Because I think a lot of people also don't realize that, like, 100 years ago, like, it's strange to think that there was, like, no real music. I mean, there was, like, you had your kind of classic folk standards and you had your classical music, and then, like, you had the birth of the big bands, like, in the 1920s, I think, if I'm correct, around about there. That whole kind of scene. But it's strange to think that, like, rock music, as we know, it's only been around since the 50s. I mean, it was just guys like Muddy and them out in the fields with the acoustic. I mean, built this whole crazy industry in such a short time, and within that short time, we've kind of been able to get away from what it originally was. I mean,
I think I definitely have a much more optimistic view of it than you do.
Yeah.
I think that I honestly feel so grateful to be making music in this generation and not any other generation, because we've grown more, you know. It's like it's almost like I feel like I'd rather be getting medicine administered to me in this generation as opposed to older and other generations. You know what I mean?
I like that, yeah.
I think you need to be aware that, like, all change is messy and all growth feels uncomfortable and makes you feel like a little bit vulnerable, and like you might hear a new sound and just not get it to the extent that you feel like you're being rejected from, like, a generation, but you're not. You just need to like spread open your arms a bit more and be like, let me embrace this. What is this? You know?
Yeah.
And really sink your teeth into it, because there were people in every generation that say that, you know.
I think that's what you alluded to earlier. I think really hits the nail on the head for someone like myself, who even for my age found it daunting to try get back into modern music. Is, like you say, there is so much out there, you don't know really where to start.
Dude, yeah, and like I'm coming across music now that, honestly, it drives me wild. Like, I can't believe music like this is getting made. It's so good.
Where would you kind of suggest a good starting point for people like myself who have no idea? I mean, I found
Like
the
modern sounds.
Yeah. I found the Naked Giants through Steph here, but
Cool.
yeah, like, I'm really, really impressed by them. But I mean, like, yeah, where would you say is a good point to start?
Well, I've just currently come across an album called Love Song for Robots by Patrick Watson.
Okay.
And it's one of the, you know, I've been listening to it now for like probably 2 weeks, and it's one of those albums, a very, like, quiet album, and every time you hear it, you get deeper and deeper into it. And I realized I was listening to it while I was falling asleep, which I never do. I spent a long time recently only listening to, like, abstract meditation music or ambient music, you know, because I was like, I only want to, if I'm not writing my music, I just want to, like, not be influenced by other sounds, you know.
That's very interesting.
And I try to be, like, very specific about my influences. So I was listening as a job, and this album completely disarmed me, because I realized after the third listen, I was like, oh my God, I'm just listening to this because, like, I don't want to do anything else with my time, you know?
Yeah.
So Patrick Watson, this other dude, Devendra Banhart. I mean, he started, like, this freak folk movement, which was like 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
But he's still making really interesting music, very similar to the Kinks, like.
Okay.
And Nick Hakim, he's just released 2 EPs. He's like a Chilean guy, but also just very, very soulful stuff. New Father John Misty record is crazy.
Okay,
I'll make a
nice.
list for you.
Please do. We'll put it on the site and that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Nice. As far as, like, the local scene and that, like, how would someone, like, kind of get into that more? Like, how do people kind of keep up to date with what kind of gigs are going on? I mean, I went to a great gig last Friday at the Good Luck Club, I think it is.
Yeah.
In town there.
Good Luck Bar.
Good Luck Bar, sorry. Yeah, great place, great gig. There was Satanic Dacha Orgy and that. And yeah, I mean, how do you kind of, is social media just the general kind of avenues, would you say? Just kind of sign up to as many?
Yeah, I think our next objective in our little scene is to become artists or acts that really inspire the people around us, like, to the extent that, like, we're proving ourselves not just in this country but in lots of countries, so that it becomes easier to engage. Because at the moment, you're friends of friends and you follow them on social media and you go to shows. But yeah, it'd be nice if we can get to a point where people are engaging with us just all over the place, like in interviews like this and live performances and albums that people are actually buying.
Hard copies are not downloading, or
Yeah.
way.
Look, either way, but I mean, if you're gonna, any musician will be like, just listen to my music, you know, that's fine for us. But like, it does make a massive difference if you're streaming on, if you're literally like a premium subscriber on Spotify, or if you're a paying subscriber on Deezer or Apple Music. That makes so much more of a difference than if you're just downloading it from a pirate site, and it doesn't cost that much more.
Nice, yeah, true. So, just finishing up in that, how can people kind of, what's kind of the way forward with you at the moment? What's your kind of thing?
The best place for like just when I'm playing shows and things like that is Facebook.
Yeah.
Instagram's a nice. I try really hard to put different content on my Instagram account. So you're not gonna see just like exactly what my Facebook feed is. Instagram and Facebook is best.
And you got tours coming up in that?
I've just come back from Cape Town.
Okay, nice.
I'm going to this weekend. I'm going to play Lush Festival in Clarence on Saturday, and then on Sunday is Splashy Festival in the Underberg.
Okay, nice.
And then I'm putting on my own show at the Good Luck Bar called Punch Bowl with Soul Jams by Benico.
What date's that?
Munga K on the 22nd of April.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and then another show. I think I've got another booking just like the next month in Casalinga, the Groves and Vineyards.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they're coming through, and hopefully we're working on some opportunities in other countries, but that's all sort of to be confirmed in the air. Yeah.
Nice, man. Well, I've only heard good things, Josh. So
yeah.
Keep it up, man. Really good to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming through again. It's
what a
been cool.
pleasure to be here. And look
Thank
at
you.
Joburg. If you guys are in Joburg, we're saying hi to you basically right
Hello,
now.
yeah, and one of our first podcasts. So yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.